What is up, guys? It's Squash here, and today we're gonna go over a couple projects relating to how to collaborate with other producers. So I'm just gonna start off by saying, if you're a producer, you're getting started, or you've been doing it for a couple months or years, you're gonna eventually end up collaborating with people that you like their work, or you were turned on to them by an artist or something. You might have even just like searched on YouTube and found their beats and you want to collab. So I'm gonna go about showing you guys how to do this in FL Studio. If you don't use FL Studio, this tutorial probably isn't for you, but I'll go over a second way of how to collaborate with someone if you're both using different workstations. So like if I'm using FL Studio and the person that I'm working with is using Ableton, I'll show you how you can still work with them. It just won't be as effective. So I'm not going to go over how to get in contact with people through email or Twitter DM. That's pretty subjective. But so the first thing is, the reason why collaborating is so good is because, one, the workload is split into two, so you only have to do 50% of the work. And secondly, you get to see somebody else's workflow, how they make beats, and then also you'll see things in the beat that they make with you that you would have never thought of, or new things that you didn't know how to do that you learn from them, and vice versa, like they'll learn from you. So I'm gonna go over this project that I was working on. It's named garbage.flp because I kind of threw it together in like 5 minutes and it wasn't really sounding good to me. So I'll play you a little bit of the project so you can hear what that sounds like. So this is what the project was sounding like. I kind of put in a little arrangement. I didn't really do much mixing or automation because I wasn't really feeling the project. And that's fine, that happens to everybody. You get writer's block, producer block, whatever you want to call it, or you just make something and you think, this ain't fire. So what I ended up doing was, there's a producer named Fawcett who I've been working with for a long time now, like pretty much since I started uploading beats to YouTube. And so I was talking to him on Twitter and I was like, hey, I made this project, I'm not really feeling it. I sent him a snippet and he was like, alright, send me over the FLP and I'll work on it. So this is one of the ways you can collaborate with people. Just send a project that's like mostly finished, or that you've made a few loops and whatnot, but you're not exactly sure where you want to go with it, or you don't think it's going to turn out good if you keep banging at it over and over and you keep trying to make it better, but it doesn't work out. Another person's perspective can totally fix that. So I sent him the FLP. And so when you're sending a project to somebody, if you're using samples, like this kick, whatever, a hi-hat, you're going to want to do it a specific way. You can't just send them the FLP file and have them open it because they won't have those samples. So essentially what you're going to have to do is you're going to go to File, Export, and then select Zipped Loop Package. And so you'll just save it as wherever you want, in like a folder that's like Collab or something, and it'll save as a zip file. And so essentially what this will do is you will be able to send them this zip file, and when they open it with Fruity Loops, it will open the exact project that you have with the plugins and the samples, because the samples will be included in the zip file. So that is how you export something that you want somebody else to use if they're using Fruity Loops and you are also. It's really easy. You get the exact project, everything with the mixer. If they don't have certain plugins, that's, there's not much you can do about that. But, if they have like Omnisphere and you have Omnisphere, it'll load it correctly. You just have to have the same version of FL Studio as them. So I think right now I'm using 12. I might upgrade to 20 later, but just make sure you have the same version. And just to go over it again, you go to File, Export, Zipped Loop Package, and it'll render it as a zip file. Now, I'm going to open another project real quick. And this is going to be the finished product that Fawcett sent me. And so I have a trackouts folder, and basically he sent me the trackouts for the project that he edited my original project with. You can also call them stems. I think that's what people call them. I've heard trackouts before, but essentially what it is if the person isn't using the same workstation as you, like you're using Ableton and they're using FL Studio, or you don't have certain plugins, it is just better to send them stems, or you can send them the zip loop package and the stems. So this is what a project looks like if you have only stems given to you. It's just a big mess of WAV files, and essentially what this is each one of these tracks is one of the sounds that was in the mixer. So as you can see, number 1 matches to the 808, number 2 matches to the bell, etc., etc. And basically what it does is it renders the entire sound in that mixer insert to a WAV file that's the same duration as the song. And then you'll come up with this. So if I mute everything except the 808 and I play that, it will just be the 808 playing, right? So essentially that's what that does. And so once I was sent this, I opened up the mixer, did some mixing, turned a bunch of stuff down and up, added some like EQs and whatnot, just to mix it to my own taste. Not everybody agrees on like what's the best to do with mixing and arranging and all that stuff. So when you're producing with and collabing with somebody, it's best to just compromise. And if you want something changed, you say like, hey, I think this is too loud or whatever, I'm going to change that, and you'll both send it back and forth until you're both happy with it. So once you have all these files, you can still mix on them, which is nice, right? They're still attached to mixer inserts, so you can put plugins on them. You can put EQs, compressors, like Effectrix, anything like that, and it'll just apply to this whole thing. And if you want to, make it so that it only applies to certain parts, you just create automation clips. And so as you can see, there's a bunch of automation clips that I created that are on top of these WAV files. So most of them are just volume envelopes. So I turn down specific things at certain points, totally cut things out at some points, and then I added both of our tags here. I can play that.
Fawcett on the track.
Squash on the beat.
So that's that. And so basically, to get the stems, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to link every single sound that is in the project to a mixer insert. You have to link each one to a separate insert. So as you can see, like the 808 matches with insert 1, bell 2, squash x faucet bell 3, rim 1 is 4, closed hat is 5. So you have to make sure each one is linked. And then what you're going to do is go to File, Export to WAV File, and you're going to name it whatever. I'll just name it Test. And then you're going to want to select split mixer tracks. And what this does is, instead of just rendering the entire project to one WAV file, it renders each mixer insert to a separate WAV file, which is how you get all of these WAV files in the project. And you can render it to waves, MP3s, whatever, whichever like quality you prefer, depending on like the hard drive space that you have, whatever. And so that's pretty much the only thing you need to check. If you want to render individual patterns, there's a different way to do that. You can just click pattern here instead of full song. So if you want to cut the remainder, like any reverb and whatnot will not show up at the end of the song. It'll just like instantly cut and whatnot. And that's all you have to do. So if you press start, it's going to render each insert to its own WAV file. And I'm going to abort this because there's already WAV files for each sound in this folder, as you can see. So essentially what it does is this. There's all these WAV files, and I can make it go like that so you can see the name. It puts the 808 in its own WAV file, the bell, closed hat, clap, whatever. Now, Faucet didn't name these. They're just named insert because that's what it is default on the mixer. It's generally good practice to name everything and label everything so you know what's going on. And as you can see, I aborted it, but it still rendered a bunch of stuff because I canceled it halfway through. This is the same thing as what's above, but with test in front of it because I named it test. So I'm going to delete all these WAV files because they're taking up a bunch of space, but I'll do that later. And once that's done, you have to put all those WAV files in a zip folder and then send them back. And then that way, if they're working in a different workstation, they can open it and still mix with it and whatnot. They can like link it to their own mixer in Ableton. I'm not fully sure how that works, but if you have a WAV file, you can fuck with it however you want to, no matter what workstation you're using. So that's how you render everything with trackouts or stems. It's preferred to do it the zipped loop package way if you're both using FL Studio, because you can get the raw full project with nothing changed. It's a little bit limiting with the stems, but you can still work with it pretty easily. And so this is the Gunna beat that I uploaded a couple days ago. I'll play a little bit of it for you so you can see how the previous beat was turned into this. You'll see some of the melodies and stuff are similar.
Faucet on the track.
Squash on beat.
So that's that, and this is what the project looks like finished. Sorry if I've been kind of like rambling and stumbling sometimes. I don't make these videos with a script, so I'm pretty much fucking retarded. But anyway, that is how you collaborate with other producers. If you have any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. I've only been like really producing for a year, so I'm not the most experienced, but if you want to work with somebody, these are two options for doing so. And generally this is for like over the internet, if you're going to email people files and whatnot. Clearly you're going to be doing things differently if you're meeting with people in real life in the studio or someone's house or home studio, whatever. So yeah, that is how you collab with other producers, and thanks for watching, guys.